gosh, welcome everyone to Excellency Light League. I am Zephyr, joined here by the lovely Coach O'Bubby, and we're bringing you week 2 of Light League here. We've got up first Merciless taking on Degenerate Esports. We hope you guys enjoyed that little pre-show there. Zephyr and Bubby, those guys over there, they were fantastic. I can't imagine what we'd do without them.
I don't think I can imagine what we would imagine we would do without them if we didn't have them, if that makes sense.
That's true. I don't know where we'd be, but either way, let's get talking. Merciless versus Degenerate Esports. One notable thing to start off with is the fact that no one has a clean slate here in the Light League. That goes for both Merciless and Degenerates themselves. They both are doing very, very well. They're sitting both at 3-1, and both currently have 4 points to their name. So it's actually quite even going into the first set for tonight.
Yeah, some of the top teams playing right off the bat to get it going. We have some high all-star players, really successful rounds last week. So this is going to definitely start off as a banger for sure. I'm looking forward to this one and getting to know the teams a little bit better. We got to ask some more questions about how they get prepped going into the pre-show with those two lovely gentlemen that entertained us. Yes. You know, not scuffed or rigged at all whatsoever, you know. Not rigged. We have Merciless.
It was completely fair.
We have Merciless, who said, and I quote, "They like to drink chocolate milk, sing sea shanties around a bonfire, do push-ups, and eat pineapple when they're preparing for the game." So that is what we can expect going into this draft from Merciless.
Is it something we expect to have already happened, or are we essentially, do we just assume it is concurrent throughout the season?
That is the question. Are they eating pineapple while drafting? Is that what makes their draft so strong? Are they singing sea shanties in lieu of what bands and picks to make? I mean, it's hard to know. I can't say for sure, but whatever they're doing, it's working really well for them. That 3-1 on 4 points, just really coming in strong. And Degenerate Esports on the same side said they just take it easy. They just keep it fresh. They're not really playing too many scrims, but they do play a lot individually. So they just come together as a team, you know, well focused and prepared, and it makes them play strong too. So not the same level of camaraderie, you know, as eating pineapple and doing push-ups, but
push-ups, of course.
Strong tactics.
Still strong. I will say, kind of moving on towards these players here now, you've got some notable figures. Of course, let's look at Merciless first. We've got French in that jungle. You discussed it yourself in the pre-show, or that guy Bubby or whatever. Either way, strong player, a little bit of a coin flip, but something to base a lot of the pressure that can come out of what is Merciless. Additionally, you also have Necrox as well. We saw in last week's games from Merciless, whether it be Darkside Academy or Degenerates Reformed, Necrox had a very, very strong pressure throughout those games. And while he did falter, especially we did see him slide up against Darkside Academy in that second game of their first set. Either way, he's definitely a contender to watch as we get into this.
Yeah, I like these bans so far. Yasuo, not 100% positive about what that one is for, but Hecarim, solid ban. Kai'Sa, you know, not the one that's losing her hair, but the normal Kai'Sa without the microphone, very strong. Pantheon, Leona, and Akali, some super strong picks, but the all-star Seraphine, we've seen so many times, so game-deciding. Merciless, really, I think having a strong choice in this draft to be able to force them into letting that one slide through, banning out other picks, and actually getting that one. It's very, very smart drafting. I think it's the pineapple.
Yes, I think that might be the pineapple. Notably, if we look back to Merciless's game against Darkside, the Seraphine was an incredible enabler for the team into their first match and actually led to a very strong lead on Necrox. So I like that pairing through. It's going to be blasted forward with some extreme early game burst damage with that Echo and Jhin. So we're playing around a strong early to mid game here. Definitely has late scaling, but that's the primary focus as of right now.
Ooh, the Karma pick. I actually really like that Karma pick too. Being able to put that on Hard Stuck Brother. possibly on support or flexing at mid for Bixis, maybe even top lane for Fugnuggler. She is 3-way flexible. The Moonstone Renewer staff builds really cheap. She's able to sustain off of her mantra, W healing her 20% of her missing health twice. So she does flex into this team comp really strongly.
Right. I personally would either see her towards the bot side of the map. I feel like she gets more use there specifically, but definitely could have that flex potential. Across the board, you do see those bans coming through. Big presence on mid lane for Merciless, trying to get rid of the Yone, the Syndra, and before, of course, that Yasuo. So they're really looking to knock down Amith here. It looks like he has some heavy pressure with these choices, so I'm curious what he might route back into. There's still great picks like Orianna on the board if they want to go for something more team fight, or maybe something, less oppressive and maybe just a hold lane. Either way, Silas and my apologies, that is how am I drawing the blank on that? Silas, help me out here, Bubby. Kale. Thank you. I'm doing my best. Wow, that is the worst thing I've ever done. Either way, Silas and Kale response on Degenerate Esports, tackling down what could be Fugnuggler's choice.
Yeah, the Echo comes in. There's been so much focus on these mid lane bans, debatably Pantheon being banned for the mid lane, Akali, Silas, maybe even mid lane Kale. She can go mid or top. I prefer Kale in the mid lane personally, but it is a little bit harder for her into some matchups that are ranged, Yone, Syndra, and Yasuo. So both of these mid laners, Amith and Bixis, are going to be really kind of having thin pickings here for what they're going to run. Echo goes through possibly mid. I would like to say that that's going to be mid, but it could be picked up jungle. And then Degenerate Esports saving their mid pick for last as well. So a lot of pressure in these drafts to snipe out the Seraphina Misfortune in these first grabs, and then just try and fill for this mid lane where both of these players are so phenomenal, have put on a carry role that they're going to try and draft around them as their final pick.
Right. And one thing I'd like to point out here, Degenerate Esports, they put a lot of faith into Fugnuggler, right? And he actually drafts first to give the counter pick over to what I assume is going to be their mid lane. And one big thing is it's immediately countered. Malphite comes through. You're not going to have a great lane if you're Gnar there. I'm really curious to see. I'm going to set this up right now. Gnar playing into this as their, what is considered their best player on the team. How is he going to deal playing it off weak now against Malphite? Does he still make the same impact across the map, even though he has been counterpicked? Top lane is basically do or die in most cases. So interested to see if making that sacrifice to get the Orianna here for Colbox, which by the way is a new player on the team. This is his first game of the season. So I'm curious if that's actually worth it, if the trade was desirable there.
Yeah, it's not a huge amount of pressure. You have Gnar, you have Misfortune, both can carry. Gnar not really picking into the best matchup. He really fits into the meta right now because he's a solid counter to all of the other meta top laners except the Malphite. So not really the strongest top lane for him, being such a strong player, being considered the all-star player. Malphite is immobile. If Udyr runs Ghost, maybe flashes with the bear stance, gets an early stun, they lock him down. Maybe they can get the lead that they need onto Gnar. But I think it's going to be mostly a farming fest and then some teleport plays into the mid and bottom side for both of these top laners to try and get any kind of real lead.
I think there's definitely a chance for that to come around. And of course, we want to see team fight impacts across the board. I will say Merciless has a wonderful opportunity, though, with that Gnar pick to capitalize, force some plays around the Malphite, and find success in that top lane and then spread the wealth. Yes, you can make it work with the teleports, but I also think that lane alone, especially as Malphite approaches the unique, gets a bit more tanky, and Gnar has a harder and harder time, especially if he falls behind and can't get to major item spikes like Black Cleaver that allow him to still be contestable in the lane. I can see a real path of success here for Merciless if they play through topside. They don't have to. They've got Jhin, they've got Seraphine, they got Echo, all these massive, huge damage targets, but this seems like an easy out.
Oh yeah, definitely. When you draft as solid as Merciless just did, having a lot of practice, they go through drafting before they go into these games. You can really kind of pick almost the triple threat while still rounding your team comp out. Malphite is, like you said, a huge threat in this draft, even allowing them to possibly play topside. Echo and Viego both bring more than enough damage that with the Malphite, they can easily shut down Gnar in an already disadvantageous lane for him and get the Malphite or giving the kills over to Echo or Viego rolling, transition that lead across the map. We have a strong mid lane, whether it's Viego or Echo against Orianna, and bottom side is Jhin Seraphine, which is terrifying of itself. So they have a really strong flex for how they want to rotate around this map. And I think Malphite's going to end up being the key player in that.
I will say he will be playing into what is Udyr, and that's pretty important because I think that's a bit of a turning point and something to style that Degenerates Esports can work with throughout this game here. If they get a little bit of speed off of Sovereign and he's able to get into these more impactful lanes, we look at Misfortune and Orianna specifically, they easily have the opportunity to find success because Jhin, wall strong early, Seraphine, wall strong early, these guys capitalize when they're put together as a team and starting to make fights happen in the mid to late game, right? If they can shut them down before they even get the chance to grow and become, stronger and stronger, that's perfect. So I think Udyr, who has much more pressure than either Echo or Viego right now in the current meta, can easily make that a win con for Degenerate Esports.
Yeah, and if he does opt into running that Ghost that a lot of Udyr junglers are playing over the Flash, we can see kind of a pseudo remake of what we saw last week with Breezy Bay's Olaf with the Orianna ball delivery system, where maybe Gnar is really the only mobile option to jump into the team for the ball delivery system.
Yes.
But if Udyr is running in at 500, 600 movement speed, he's super tanky. So, you only have 2-3 CCs to really stop him. He can just run in and go, boop, here we go. 3-4 person Orianna Shockwave and start that team fight up with the bullet time combo. Gnar jumps in with Mega Gnar. And the whole team can lead from there. So really solid pick on Udyr too. And as you said, dominant jungler. So a lot of pressure early game from that.
Right. So at that point, both of these teams have a very similar setup. I think early they're relatively the same. You look at bot lane, there's a little bit of sustain on both sides compared with early aggression. Mid, whether it be Echo and Orianna Viego, whatever, it's going to be a little bit more scaling. Granted, Orianna has one of the greatest team fight pressure ultimates in the game, but still, the pacing of these lanes are going to be identical. The only lane where you see that shift up a little bit is the top side, and Udyr does have extra speed. So it's basically, your choice of getting your Udyr and Orianna versus looking at your Malphite success in some of the other lanes, right? So there's some paths here for both squads, but it is very similar is what I'm trying to get at.
Oh, yeah, it is very, very similar indeed. Merciless says, as a team, they are very capable of rotating their lead into any side of the map. They can play around any player. So while French is the star player, if he gets the lead going top, he gets the lead going mid, he gets the lead throwing bottom side, any of those sides of the map are able to apply enough pressure to try and carry the game equally.
I will say, if we want to take a look at the overall pacing of Light League as a whole, technically Merciless has actually only played 2 games as of right now and gone 1-1. Their other series that they were intended to play was against Degenerates Reformed, which was also another forfeit. So in terms of actual scoring here, this team has actually only won once and lost once, right? Whereas Degenerate Esports has earned a double victory against Shadowblade Slash and then drew even across the board last week against Darkside, I believe. My apologies. Redefy, sorry.
Yeah, definitely indeed. We are having a little bit of an issue with the lobby, so we're on a slight hold.
No.
But the drafting is going to go in right as I say
timing,
that.
Bubby.
Gotta prove me wrong on that one. They were
Caster
waiting for me to say
That's
it.
how it works, all right? When you want something to happen, just say it, and then it'll turn right around and it'll do the opposite. Perfect.
I should have just said something sooner, I guess.
Yeah, get it done earlier next time.
That's on me. I will accept responsibility for the drafting issue that was out of my control.
I'm over here and I'm trying to communicate with you, but I've just got the biggest sneeze in the world, Bubby, and it's torturing me, buddy. I want to have a conversation with you, but no,
Just
I'm
let
kidding.
it out.
I can't. It's gone now.
Right into the microphone. I think everybody in chat wants to hear that big, wet sneeze.
Please never use the wet and sneeze in the same sentence ever again, or else I will have you removed from my broadcast.
Well, you already disqualified me in the rigged pre-show, so it wouldn't be the first time.
I thought your answer was completely fine. Finnick over here is the tyrant impeaching you, okay?
How much did you pay him, Zephyr? How much did you pay him? You can tell me. It's okay. You can tell me.
I am a long-standing friend of our producer, Finnick. We are good buddies. I did not pay him anything but my love and attention. Maybe
okay, so
a conversation about
American
tech
dollars. Okay, so you bribed him with tech decks now.
Maybe about $350.
Approximately $350.
$350. Okay, so just to confirm, because this is the only thing that we really haven't touched on, Echo is confirmed to be on French's belt now, and they're throwing Viego onto Amith. So that's the actual official ordering here. And we've run the mill on everything else, but this is the last one to kind of bring up. I think Echo works a lot better, but he still does not come close to the pacing of Udyr. But in terms of team fight presence, come mid to late game, it's going to be far more oppressive to deal with French than it is Sovereign, especially if Sovereign doesn't find anything early.
The Timo Hover had me surprised. Everybody trolling with the Timo Hover. I was like, wait a minute. Oh, no, we didn't mess up in draft, did we? I actually really like that Viego on the mid lane. He has some very high sustain. They just recently nerfed it. His healing went from 150% on the passive as Q down to 100% when he autos the minions after hitting them with an ability. So 33% less healing, but it is still a force to be reckoned with. I really want to point out now, not playing in the jungle and playing in mid lane, he's going to get a little bit more time to fight out this Orianna and try and shut her down. Echo would be able to do the same, but using his passive in the early game is kind of a big part of the champion core, and putting him in the mid lane against somebody who can constantly keep him pushed in like Orianna is going to prevent his roaming power if he's not killing her.
Right, and I don't think he'll be able to until we see a appropriate gank from French, but at the same time, Sovereign on Udyr is more than likely going to be ready to shadow that across the board time and time again. I just think the pacing on the Udyr is going to be the make or break deal here for Degenerate Esports, and if it's not, then of course you have just natural scaling for Merciless that eventually will put them forward if they are not caught out by some of the wombo combos that Degenerate has.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier Colbox's first game just being subbed in.
True,
they put him on the Orianna first time. That's a very huge pressure pick to put a player on with such a wombo combo oriented team, saying, hey, we know it's your first game. Maybe they have some practice with it, but here you go. Good luck with those shockwaves. You got one delivery system. Make it count. It's like, ooh, that's a lot of pressure if I was him.
I will give him a bone and say Udyr at times might be the perfect delivery system that could work around it, but it doesn't change the fact that there's a lot on the plate tonight to learn the rules that are behind Colbox here and what he actually brings to the table. They did go with that sub, and I'm hoping that it does benefit Degenerates and they find themselves stronger because of that choice. But either way, it's going to be up to these players to make that decision. We've talked your ear off enough, and we're probably not funny enough to keep you entertained. So we're going to be right back as we approach and get our way into the Rift. Stick around, stay tuned for what will be an exciting game one.
The era of metal has begun, and metal shall prevail. For we know what they have done. 5 legends of our realm who sought to follow the path of their dark musings. But they did not know what they had summoned. Pentakill. To these creatures, there is but one thing left to do. Heavy metal.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Excellency's Light League. If you're just joining us, you're watching Merciless versus Degenerates Esports here on the Rift tonight. I am your play-by-play caster, Zephyr, joined by the lovely Coach O'Bubby as my color.
It's a pleasure to be here, and I am very excited going into these games. These are both some high-ranked teams, some very strong all-star players, and it is our first time with Viego allowed in draft.
Oh, I have not even thought about that. I just realized he is available after last Friday, so this is, of course, the first time coming into week 2. I don't know if it'll be that much of an impact. He is strong, but single target focus on a team that's going to be playing into something a bit more all-around AoE when we look at bullet time and shockwave and Gnar Can that single target find its way through, get on top of Bixis or Colbox when it needs to? It's a good question.
Yeah, the other side of that same coin is not only are we concerned about how to let the Viego work for Merciless, but does Degenerate Esports have the experience playing against a Viego to know how to handle him?
Very true. That could be something that could impact this one out here. And one notable thing is if we're talking about experience, we already brought it up, but Colbox being the new mid laner going into a new champion. I feel like there's a lot of new on the Rift tonight.
Yeah, definitely a lot of new stuff coming out and very exciting game. A lot of things to look forward to. Viego
so
having to sustain. Right now. Yeah, I'm very hyped to see this Viego. I love the champion so much, and just getting to see him played in a 5v5 team comm tournament environment is just going to be a huge thrill for me.
So one little thing to note. Top side, we discussed how Fugnuggler is going to slowly fall off here. But we fail to recognize the fact that he does have a little bit of time within and before the first couple backs here that he could potentially take advantage of Goldfan, notably in controlling the wave. So we're going to have to watch and see how he manages that one out as he continues to approach each and every one of these crashes.
Yeah, if he's able to crash the Malphite into a really bad position.
Beautiful. Ooh. I'm sorry. I mean, it's just a beautiful route.
I was expecting a kill there, so yeah, I was like,
me too.
Zephyr's about ready to start popping off here, but no, just gonna pop those health potions, pop I believe some biscuits. Is she running biscuits? She does. Yeah, she did pop a biscuit there. So a lot of sustain, a lot of help. A lot of these lanes are just so heavy and harass in this early game, but also having so much sustain.
Right, and I think that's notably the range versus melee matchups across the board. One thing to note is that Seraphine definitely comes online much quicker than Karma. While Karma does have decent sustain, the poke is nowhere in comparison. Amith, though, getting really punished on that range matchup. Cole making a good statement for himself being new.
Yeah, Amith really put against the ropes. He started with the Doran's Blade thinking he's going to get to step up, auto these minions, sustain, and I think that Q nerf is really starting to hit him here. Less healing on the damage and only the 2.5% Omnivamp. I think a Doran's Blade would have helped him out a lot more here.
I think I agree on that one too. Definitely the range matchup is something that's constantly punishing, and if you don't have a jungler gank, you're never really going to shut down Colbox as he plays incredibly safe from what it seems. Even if he is far forward, you always will have to worry about Sovereign shadowing in some regard.
Yeah, and speaking of jungle ganks, Echo and Udyr are contesting over this bottom side scuttle as top lane goes into a fight.
Good stun there. Oh, back to the bot lane. They're taking a little bit of fight. Dark Dragon, he's going to be poked out here. Good dissonance to make sure they can't chase any further from French there, though.
Yeah, two very potentially first blood ensuing fights, but not finding it quite just yet. Amith hasn't based yet. He's actually decided to stay for an extra 2 waves, even though he has teleport, sitting on that 800 gold. Trying to just levy out this loss from the Doran's Blade over Doran's Shield start that he's suffering, but actually managing to stay tied in CS.
Not too bad for him, I will say. So like you said, he's gonna make that back, comes through with continued aggression, going for the dagger and the longsword right off the back, as we do see Colbox opt for that tier. Neither, I think, are going to teleport. They're just gonna walk it back as the wave has crashed quite nicely. Either way, it's a good showing from Amith, even if he is getting punished out, playing that weaker side.
Yeah, Orianna usually is the lane bully. Gnar usually is a lane bully. Misfortune with those
look at this
double taps. Oh my gosh, we see why Malphite is good against the Gnar. Just brings down the pain to Fugnuggler.
Sovereign's here on the side. He wants to look for something, but Goldfan smells him out super duper early there, and he's able to get out very clean. And this is something that we could have waited to see. Degenerates, they have the opportunity to play around this Udyr very, very well. And that top side is still at that early point where Goldfan can be taken advantage of. But like I said, 1 back, 2 back, 3 back, 4, Malphite, he's going to become a door.
I like that little jingle there, but it is so true. Even down in CS, it doesn't really matter when you're playing Malphite. He's got Cloth, he's got Ruby. Nar's able to pick up the whip, gives him a lot of trade damage, a lot more wave control, but you know, this is now hitting level 6 on Malphite. He has Unstoppable Force. He teleported into topside where Fugnuggler decides to hold it.
No, I think it's perfectly fine here, but Colbox looking for aggression on Amith once again, taking advantage of that range to melee matchup. Now we're starting to see the diversity as he is starting to lead in CS, sitting at least a wave and a half pretty over Amith.
Yeah, this is really interesting. That's the third time in 6 minutes I've been almost positive there was going to be the first blood of the game. And yet they get out with such little HP. Big mistake here from Amit teleporting back to lane before fully healing. So
I will say
with about half HP.
Yeah, game is a little slow right now. I expected a lot more pacing out of Sovereign and French, and what that means is some of the more early game champions that we're looking to see, you know, advantage on are definitely going to be stunted because they haven't quite gotten the ganks they need. Granted, there's still, you know, 3 to 5 minutes before we start approaching those contested multi-team fights, but it is something to watch for.
Yeah, I'm curious what going into this game, the mentality of both of these teams are. They look for a play bottom side, but Echo just can't find the marks. Spotted out by some words. Both teams playing so defensive. It's as if there's a lot of respect on both sides towards each other's play style, saying we're not going to risk getting gold on anybody that's important right just yet. Both teams are good in the late game, and I think that's what they're pressuring right now, is going for the late game.
I think the mid to late game is where you're going to see these two comps shines, obviously. I just wanted to see a bit more further aggression from, you know, Sovereign, who's on highly oppressive Udyr, and, you know, French, who has definitely the gank potential on, my apologies, Echo. Look at that Gnar play from Fugnuggler straight on to Goldfan, chasing through. He throws that Crescent. It's going to be the Rock from afar that gets the first blood. Finally, 8 minutes into the game there.
Yeah, and that's a death with Flash and Ultimate available from Malphite, really thinking he was just going to walk his way out of that one, and just gets hit by the boulder for almost exactly enough damage to finish him off.
You know, and we talked about, he has this little bit of time, Fugnuggler, while he does have range, you know, matchup success, he still can beat Malphite for the first 5 to 10 minutes before he starts oppressively getting towards, you know, the completed Bambis into Righteous. Either way here, French making a rotation towards the mid. There's the chrono break, but Sovereign's coming in from the side. That's the shadow we talked about, but a great flash there combined with Amith as he goes in for the Heartbreaker to make sure he doesn't die to Sovereign there. But Sovereign on the response just barely misses out on those kills. It's a double there for French.
Oh, wow, that was
Very
so close. Oh, Amith just being body blocked from being able to pick up Oriana's soul with his Sovereign's domination. At the last second, the last auto attack that would have finished him off is able to get the click, picks it up, casts Oriana's abilities, and by one hair secures that double kill on Echo.
I will say, I mean, it was a great move from Sovereign. We talked a lot about how he can come in, protect Colbox when he's a bit too far forward, and that's exactly what he did. We just didn't expect the absolute aggression from Amith to follow up, just as absurd. Now Colbox rotating towards that top side, uses that shockwave meal and French. There's the unstoppable force, but now Sovereign over the wall. Phoenix to get the first hit there. Doesn't get caught by the cause of distance. There's the flash from Colbox. Doesn't quite find the ball, but Goldfan, he's looking rough. That's going to be the double response from Sovereign immediately now. Oh, but wait, Amith on the side here, gonna find that stun and an easy kill onto Colbox. No problem there. Can Sovereign let it go without punishment, though? He's gonna come through with the Phoenix stance, pushing them down. Can't quite get the stun. There it is, pushing into the bush. There's no one there to help him respond. He's able to take this pretty much 1v1, but Fugnuggler comes in for the kill steal.
Well, that is a big turn of events.
Yes.
for
Yes.
Degenerate Esports. That is a very big turn of events. So we talked about the comms, Colbox being new, Sovereign being the dominant jungler. What are they going to do with this? Well, they just showed that Orianna Bushwhack was huge, but they're not done just yet.
Yeah, French coming in over the side here. He's stunned out. There's a great distance. He does have Chrono Break available if he wants to protect himself, but he gets a good slow off the Q, but there is the boulder in response. Oh, he's going to walk out just fine. But back to what you're saying, yes, Sovereign coming through, communication, Colbox being a little bit new. I was complaining about how there's not enough pressure from Udyr yet, but he came through. He showed me that he's ready and raring to go, and I got a little taste of that in that fight where he did go down against French for that double kill. He was really strong, and he was basically a hit away from getting a double in response there.
Yeah, so even after losing that double kill, they just say, all right, we'll just make the play topside. We'll catch Echo out. We'll dive this Malphite. I think the original intention was to dive the Malphite, but they scouted out French, not having that ultimate from his aggressive play a minute before. They were able to get him with the shockwave and lock him down. Malphite tries to help and ends up just getting himself, killed too. Double kill going back over to Udyr, and both junglers are tied right back up again.
Right. But now, speaking of junglers, for the side here of Merciless, French and Omith going for a sneaky Drake. Doesn't look good, though. That bullet time is going to be taking out French's. Omith now looks for the escape there. Mind you, there is teleport. Good double charm. Encore as Omith goes back into it. Gold fan missing the unstoppable force off a great flash there. Fugnuggler stepping up to get the kill on Omith as Necrox comes back, but a good shockwave prevents them from escaping. 4 members down here for Merciless as Degenerates go for a great collapse.
These team fights are extremely explosive. This is exactly what I wanted to see from this game. This is what I wanted to see from these team comps. We say they're having a little bit of a hard time finding their mark, maybe, but then the second we hit those level 6s, all the ultimates are available. We're getting right into those team fights. As we see another one is Seraphine's running away.
Vix is playing that super aggressive. She is caught. She's in a terrible position here, and all it takes is one quick collapse, given the fact that she's stuck in between 2 turrets here. But actually, I think she walks out. Yeah, I think she's fine. Mind you, they are trading like bot lane turret for this, so not the most optimal path.
Not the best play by Seraphine, but it's better than dying and giving over the full turret plating gold plus first turret.
Right.
That could have happened. Misfortune, unfortunately, didn't have mana, so couldn't secure that kill. And some nice poking from Dark Dragon that we've seen this whole game so far really kind of just zoned her out. Said, all right, I'll just sing my way out of this. What looked to be a death sentence of a position she was trapped in from that last fight.
Right. And looking back towards Merciless, they're in a rough spot right now, but that doesn't mean they're completely out of it. Viego Omith here has been very strong as a single target oriented, and we talked a little bit of how that might be a problem into the AoE Wombo combo that Degenerate has, but we saw what he was able to do to Colbox. We saw what he has the potential to do to Bixis. All he has to do is make it happen. Additionally, Necrox is slowly coming online. Dark Dragon's still oppressive, that double encore. The only problem with that Dragon fight is they were caught out too far forward and they weren't in position. And, Degenerates got the jump. They were playing to the gun much, much faster. Wow, look at that double ultimate use there. No one wins.
Yeah, we see exactly why.
Wait, though.
Star player.
French on the side here with that distance, can't quite find it, but the stun does land on him instead. Now Gnar looking a little bit weak. He's going to be pushed out there as Nuggler's trying to find an escape, but it's too late. Use that jump. The Chrono Break just barely misses him for the extra damage. He's doing great to poke back on French, but it doesn't matter. There's the kill. Funny enough, going over to Necrox coming in there.
He throws out the Deadly Flourish with Dark Harvest and snipes him for 150 damage and picks that one up for the shutdown gold. You'd like to see it though, because he is the 80 carry. You want him to get the gold. He's kind of been getting the short end of the stick so far compared to this more misfortune. So it really kind of swings him back in full swing to tie up with her pretty much even in gold now.
Omith here looking for a cheeky kill if he can on a Colbox. He's hiding for as long as he wants. Gonna watch your rotation, so he at least has that information, but he does have to catch wave eventually. I will say, much to your point, Necrox doing great to pick up that kill. Definitely a route for Merciless to find their way back to something more even. And before we even got into the fight, I just wanted to say, you know, if Merciless finds himself with better positioning, more preparation, a bit more vision control into a fight here, I think they can draw out a win. I feel like the setup for that dragon was what really was their downfall, not so much their actual play and where they were compared to their lane states.
Most definitely. We see Ameth pick up Kraken Slayer. There's two, give or take, two, maybe three mythics that we're used to seeing Viego playing right now. There's Divine Sunder, which is the lowest of the three, Trinity, and the Kraken Slayer, but that's putting a lot of AD damage on this team. Seraphine and Malphite don't do a whole lot of damage, and Echo, he's doing pretty good. He's got the Rocket Belt, so if this Udyr really stack up armor, it could be really difficult for them to get in. And like you said, without a solid way in outside of Unstoppable Force or Encore from Seraphine, these fights could be really hard if they get too tanky.
Right. On the side here, it has come to a bit of a lull. They're probably waiting for what will be the next dragon in the next 30 seconds or so. So we'll have to wait on that one. Notably there, even though we saw the fight go in favor of Degenerates Esports, they still managed to pick up that second dragon. Even though they all died, they still got the objective. That's something I missed. I didn't expect them to pull that dragon off, but they did, even in the face of an entire bullet time. So they're still even on this one, and both teams have an opportunity to stack 3 Drakes. But I think they're going to go for the opt here of 1 onto Rift, 1 onto Dragon. Actually, no. That's a double pull. This might be bad if they're splitting focus around the map like this.
Yeah, Echo's very good at stealing Drake, so we'll see how they rotate around this play.
Teleport's coming through on Tribush there from Colbox. Coming up on the side here. Sovereign's going in fast. That's a great Gnar ult to pair off it. Double stun coming through. Dark's going with the flash. Tries to get out. That's a great charm to lead Necrox out of the fight before he goes down. Sovereign with the flash though and the slow stun out there. Fugnuggler coming through with the boulder. Meanwhile, the Drake was stolen by French. He's going to be taken out by Colbox before he goes down as Ameth comes in to secure the response there. It's going to be 3 for 1, but the Drake fell in favor of Merciless. Granted, they do lose control over this mid wave and possibly a turret or two. I think Gold can control this though. Oh, he's gonna fight that. I think Sovereign's out fine. Gold might not be though. Vixus with a nice kill there after a very aggressive play.
Yeah, Misfortune using her bullet time just to shove the wave in, trying to get a lead, but everybody spawned fast enough. A little overzealous after that many plays to try and also secure the mid lane inhib turret. But man, is Fugnuggler showing why he is the star player right now. Sovereign just playing so well on this Udyr. Struggled in the early game, but said, I am unleashed. Let me at him. Yeah. Colbox picking up that kill against Echo before he went down, really showing he's new, but he's never out of position. He's never really caught with, you know, his pants down. He's where he needs to be. He's playing how he needs to play, and at every corner he's at least performing equally with the rest of the team.
Absolutely. I think he had great setup on that dragon. It's a shame we didn't get to see it. If we had replays available, and I promise one day we will, I'd love to go back and see how that actually played out there, because French, granted, was in probably a poor position there, but still, I think Colbox was definitely playing it appropriately. And at that point, once you've used your whole rotation, of course you're going to be taken out by Ameth.
Yeah, French is the dragon stealing maestro. In an interview, Merciless did say that, hey, he's a coin flip champion. He's a coin flip player. He can play everything, but he's going to hard carry or he's going to do not so hot. Regardless, he will always get his smites. Ooh. He will always get it. That was a promise they made.
Team is set up here for potential fight. French going in deep onto Bixus here, and he is going to be taken down there off the side. Now Goldfan punished out here. 1 kill in favor of Merciless as they take advantage. There's the teleport from behind. Ooh, good knock up in response to Fugnuggler, but the Gnar ult still comes through for the quadruple kill. Instantly, Necrox the only one left alive, but not for long. A full team ace for Degenerates Esports.
Yeah, that was pretty much exactly what they want to do. They say we want Gnar to teleport in with Mega Gnar so he has that movement speed, get right in place, 3-4 man ultimate, just getting exactly what they want, combo it with the shockwave, and Wowie, the communication on that wombo combo between them. You know, Coldbox, again, never missing the mark. The new player, but every turn he's comboing with Sovereign. He's comboing with Fugnuggler, always where he needs to be, always pairing with this team. And he has found his place in this team right off the bat in game one.
Absolutely. I think he's doing a great job, and I'm excited to see how he performs even into the extent of the rest of this game. One thing I want to even touch on is Fugnuggler playing into the counter pick there, finding success early, playing off of his team, is now an absolute dominant force in the Malphite. Even though he has the ability to become tanky and has the ability to counter, it's too far gone at this point. So even while Merciless may find themselves getting the objective of 2, they're still really missing the cut when it comes to the individual pressure and power of these team fights. And we talked about it. Can they play the single target game into a massive AoE comp that is on Degenerate Esports? And right now it's looking like a no.
Yeah, 10k gold lead. They got the Baron buff. They're down in Drakes, but they're going to have this Baron buff bonus stats, lane pressure for this next Drake. Let's see if French can handle the pressure time and time again if he can steal this Drake, but every time he's done so, he's died for it. And it's just a matter of how many times he can keep making that sacrificial play before they need to actually get a solid win to come back in.
At this point, though, they're making great use of the last rift on the map here to push it even further. In 22 minutes, they're managing to hit a chunk of damage onto that bot inhib turret there. And they're going to keep pressuring out with the Baron they just picked up for themselves. I think that's an easy turret to pick up. Yeah, no problem there.
Yeah, great comms. We got the 4-1 split, bottom to top. Nara's going to push this wave in as they're going to prep for Drake. I want to point out, at the beginning, we talked about how good Nara's early game. Malphite gets better in these late game team fights. The reason for that is, if they wait out the Mega Gnar, Malphite ult is the same thing, if not better. But Fugnuggler is always able to get his Mega Gnar at these fights. He's never caught in Mini Gnar without that ultimate. And it's a huge kudos to him because he's playing perfectly into his counter pick, into his weakness that we were expecting to see.
So they literally let Gnar be countered and give themselves a great pick in the mid lane with that Orion on a Coldbox. It's a lot to the testament of the strength of Fugnuggler here. We were questioning, is he going to find success even with his back against the wall? No question. 5-1-8. 5-1-8. Not even a problem.
Yeah, and he's got flash for this fight if they decide to defend this.
Going in there. There's that flash, he said. Gets the stun onto Necrox. He's slowed out and uses the flash himself. There's the response with the double encore curtain call coming through. His gold fan is deep in that backline. Double flash there as Gustavo doesn't include Amith. Going to be stunned out before he can get on to Coldbox. Taken in response there. We do get the root from Dark Dragon with Sovereign. Fugnuggler coming in. A good shockwave from over the wall. Now Necrox looking a bit dangerous. Sovereign diving under turret, finding the kill. Gold fan now on one next here. He's going to be a little bit too tanky for them to take off this one, but it's going to be 5-2. They could end it here. Timers are up in 20 seconds.
Yeah, nice zoning bullet time there from Misfortune. Just zoning them out. Wow, that could have been game Udyr splitting, but he doesn't have any damage to take this.
Look at this. Look at Sovereign playing that so aggressively. They know everyone's up in the next 10 seconds, but they still want to press their lead and get inhib here. Oh, Fugnuggler using ultimate there to prevent Echo had he gone for the dash. He didn't, but that's just something to point out in terms of the skill level of what he was prepared to do. I think that's really impressive. Just a little micro detail.
Some preventive measures there. Once you hit about level 14, 15, 16 on Gnar, you get some CDR, your ultimate becomes the cooldown of your Mega Gnar. So there's no reason not to throw it out before you transform into Mini Gnar because it'll just be back. You know, we're 10 seconds away from his ultimate, which ironically is just called Gnar with an exclamation point. You know, it's already back. Look, it's 5 seconds away. So he can just throw that out every time as a zoning for these aggressive plays that they're going for, and they are just finding every play they want and executing them perfectly.
By the way, just to point out, loved the move from Coldbox there with the shockwave over the wall. After being chased out, they used so many resources to try to tackle Coldbox and put him out of the game, but over the wall, he found that successful shockwave and actually got a kill in response to all that pressure. really impressive. At this point, though, Merciless lost that early game strife across the board, and they've been losing ever since.
Yeah, it's really hard when your Malphite's really not finding these unstoppable forces. He's trying to dash in, and some of them are whiffs, but I have to give the credit all the way over to Degenerate Esports, flashing these ults every time he casts them. He's only really had one true whiff. It's your team setup, and with nothing else to combo it into except the Encore, which Seraphine's been using for self-peel, he has to just hit the R button, pray to Riot and say, please don't flash this or we're going to lose this fight, and I'm going to be stuck smack dab in the middle of your team with nothing else left in my pocket for this fight.
Well, we'll have to wait and see if he manages to pull it back around in one of these future fights, but I will say waves are still crashing. Baron is up in the next 20 seconds. I'm curious if we'll see Degenerate try to push for end now or move on. Fugnuggler utilizing that ult there. Granted, it will be up the next time he has Meganar, but just something to know.
Yeah, trying to go for a pick. If it had worked, it would have worked. You know, they have the damage to finish off the Malphite, so Echo's looking for a fight.
Oh, not quite the unstoppable force, and now French there taking low as he can't quite find a good charm in response. There's Amith tries to go forward. Bullet time doesn't quite come through, but he's still gonna be taken out from Misfortune either way. Now deep as Malphite, Gold Fan trying to pun out. He's gonna be flashing through to make sure he survives. That current call doing a great job of pressure, but French stepping forward gets stunned out. Meanwhile, your bot lane Sovereign is pushing for the victory. He's going to be punished as Fugnuggler steps up to make sure French goes down. Now Dark Dragon Gold Fan looking a little bit rough as Sovereign continues to line into these Nexus turrets. He's going to try to escape. The root doesn't come through from Necrox as they now turn their attention. Sovereign's going deep in the backline, straight on Dark Dragon. Can't quite find the kills. The heal comes through, but Sovereign now pulling back without going down. But Necrox with the bullet to find it through his Fugnuggler now on the side, ticking down with the Nexus. Gold Fan stepping up, trying to position himself, but they can't quite stop this team. Degenerate Esports with an incredible game one here.
Wow, that was definitely a one-sided base race if I have seen it, but that was definitely a base race. Udyr putting this massive 4-1 split pressure in the bottom side. They didn't even see it for the first minute, trying to defend this top lane. They whiff the team fight. They go a little bit short on the Malphite ultimate, and boom, they turn around and say, we just lost the fight, and Udyr's taking our Nexus. What are we supposed to do? Necrox responds well enough, but it's just too late.
Yeah, it's not
just
at that
late.
point in the game, right? And we saw that time and time again where they, and maybe at the beginning we saw them a bit more sustainable, where you could imagine them taking a bit more of an even fight. But at this point, when you get to that 10, 15-minute phase where you're still whiffing those ultimates on Malphite, using the Encore for self-peel rather than engage, not getting the positioning that you need on Amith or Necrox, respectively, you know, it all stacks up, and eventually we saw them lose out.
Yeah, when Colebox is tying in damage with Fugnuggler and they both hit the 23,000 damage mark, 6K more than anyone else on Merciless was able to do, both of them over damaging anything that Merciless is able to throw at them while it's coming from a Wombo combo team comp. It's just too much to deal with.
Right. So looking forward here into this next game, I can't get a good gauge on Merciless. Yes, they let it slip out. The rug was pulled from underneath them so quickly that after that first 5 minutes, it just didn't feel like they had a real path back into the game at times, you know, given their level of cohesion and play that just, you know, really wasn't there. Looking forward, I'm interested to see, because they had a good comp for mid to late game. They just didn't stunt the bleeding. So I'm curious, can they make it through the early game without giving away all those kills?
I think they can. I definitely think they can. They showed that aside from 1 or 2 missed key abilities, the rest of the team was able to really kind of lead the charge pretty well. You take Amos off of the Viego. We tried it. I love to see it, but put him on something that's a little bit easier, not as kill dependent, a little bit more setup, and I think that they have a really strong chance in game 2.
Absolutely. So we're going to have to wait and see. We're going to let these teams get reorganized as we start to approach what will be the next draft. We'll be right back with you. What could be a resurgent here from Merciless or Degenerates Esports finishing it in a heavy 2-0.